Great, great. Good afternoon, people. We are going to get started. Thank you for joining us for another day or evening for Business Talks. I am your host, Shawan Burns, and today we're going to talk about the border crisis. We have some kind of alarming things that I want to talk about when it as it affect us all, because not only um some people might not think, oh, we got people coming over seeking asylum from communist countries, or maybe they're in danger or what have you. But it eventually is going to start really affecting us, because not only is it draining our resources, and is draining our resources as the taxpayers. And also I want to talk about how does it affect us moving forward when we're trying to get certain people elected. Okay. And I know the Democratic Party, they want to push, for some reason they do have this narrative that you don't need an ID to vote. If you would have asked me about 4 years ago, I would have said, "Oh, it's a conspiracy. They just don't want people to vote. They're putting it like a obstacle in place um, for people to vote." And I was thinking, like, "Oh yeah, that's racist." But if you really think about it, if you are a citizen of the United States, why wouldn't you have an ID? How hard is it for us to get an ID? And that's one of the agendas that Democrat Democrats push. They're thinking it's like a obstacle for a person to get a ID, a legal ID. And that's why they're pushing to, you know, not not having ID or identification when you go to the voting polls. So what does that have to do with immigration? It has everything to do with immigration. So now you're going to have all these undocumented people. They're not legal residents of the United States. They're going to be voting. And you might not think it will impact you as much, but yeah, it's going to have a significant impact on the numbers of people who, some people might not care to vote, but we've seen some crazy stuff um, with the voting. So, like, they literally was paying people to get vaccines. I'm thinking they're going to be paying people to vote if you don't need an ID in certain areas. Okay. So that's one of the things I think why we need to get this border control under wraps. Number two, it does hurt us when we're talking about drugs that's entering in the U.S. Fentanyl is the number one killer right now. If you are one of those people that are addicted to drugs, actually, I had an employee. They couldn't find her brother for a couple of days. He was a drug addict, and I remember the day like it was yesterday. They he ended up crawling in the back of the car at a Kroger's, and did his drugs and end up dying in the back of the car because he died of a drug overdose. And one of the reasons why he died of a drug overdose is because he had fentanyl in the drugs. So, and this was up in Michigan. Yeah, excuse me, I got a harshy voice, so I probably sound like a man for the next couple of hours or whatever. But anyway, so yeah, I remember that just like it was yesterday. And my employee, she called crying, saying, "Yeah, we finally found them. It was freezing outside, below zero temperatures, and they look back. They suspected foul play, but when they finally realized, oh, he died of a drug overdose. They looked back at the security cameras." and they tried to circle where he was at, and he was in that same parking lot, but he parked like in the back of the parking lot, like not where the front of the store, but the back. And they saw his car. It was sitting there for 2 days because he just crawled in the back and took his drugs and never woke up. So, fentanyl crisis. Um, and then a lot of people don't understand we have a human rights crisis because now we have these lax laws on the border patrol, and we have people, and I said now we have a lax laws. We've been had some terrible laws. Obama administration had terrible laws with the border patrol. um, Trump tried to fix it with Title 42, which we'll discuss that. And then, but the Biden administration kind of undid everything that Trump put in place to kind of strengthen the border, and they stopped building their wall or whatever. And right now it's just a crisis right now. If you look, let me show you some of the pictures. If you look to see, they are just waiting to get to across. They're just waiting to get across. I think Title 14 expires May 14th, I think they said. Um May 11th. Title 42. Title 42 expires May 11th. And there's people just lined up waiting to get across. And once they're able to get across, we're going to see an influx of illegal residents, or aliens, I guess you want to call it, coming into our borders. So what the third problem we're going to have is, and we already have it, is human trafficking and sex trafficking. And I don't know if you guys remember, it was a big deal during the Obama administration, and they talked about it during the Trump administration, where these kids was being separated from the parents because uh, Biden or Obama put in place where DACA, a kid could enter in without a parent under 16 if they're under the age of 16. We didn't know, and they were talking about how they were separated from their parents. And they gave a lot of slack to Trump about this, but this was actually Biden's Obama's administration they put in place, and it had all to do with DACA. So let me just show you these pictures right quick. It's so sad because we could say that, hey, we need to stop these immigrants, but we really need to actually put something in place for them to just stop coming over here. And so we're going to go over that as well. So let me just show you a screen. Where is this? These are just some of the images. These are all people waiting, and they're saying they're just getting more and more people. More and more people. This was 5 days ago. This one. I don't know why I didn't spam, maybe. This was 5 days ago. On this one. And And so they're just waiting for Title 42 to end. And Title 42, what that really ensured that, the state are able to ship the illegal immigrants back to where they came. It gave the authority to the state or the U.S. Border Patrol, so we could deny them entrance. And the Title 42 was actually put in place because of COVID-19. It was like a health risk. So, but it's about to expire, and believe me, they're not trying to put it back in place because they don't think we have a problem. They really don't think we have a problem. And it's sad that they don't think we have a problem, because we do. I'm just trying to show. Where is my bookmarks? Okay, so this now I don't know if you guys seen this yet. This is from the press secretary. And she she don't really answer questions, and she be lying all the time. So we gonna show you this. She be lying all the time, and we're gonna show you.
Said yesterday that when it comes to illegal migration, you've seen it come down by more than 90%. Where did that number come from?
I was speaking.
is telling us the number is.
I hear you. I'm about to answer.
136,000 people more.
I'm about to answer you.
Year so
if
far.
If the dramatics could come down just a little bit. If the dramatics could come down a little bit.
What's dramatic about asking a question about?
Okay, I'm going to answer. So I was speaking to the parolee program. As you know, the president put in place a parolee program to deal with certain countries on ways that we can limit illegal migration, and we have seen the data has shown us that it has gone down by more than 90%. That was what I was speaking to. No, we're going to go. We're going to move. Go ahead. Go ahead.
You said yesterday that when it comes to illegal migration, you've seen it come down.
So, and she just in total denial of the situation. And of course she's doing her job, because they told her to say this. They're saying, oh, it's down by 90%, but it's not really. Actually, I found the document, and I'm going to share that with you guys. This document was done by Foreign Affairs Committee. The Foreign Affairs Committee did a deep dive research in actually all the laws that we have in place to strengthen our border. And it actually kind of exposed some information that we've been giving money to other countries so they could help strengthen their borders and stop the crime in their countries, but we've seen little to no results. So one of the problem is like, we're spending a lot of money. And when I say we're spending a lot of money, you will be surprised. We're giving a lot of money to other countries. And let me show you this document. And it's like insane. Other countries, for them not to do nothing. They're not doing nothing. They're not doing nothing. And in this document, I'm going to show you, this is called Biden's Border Crisis, Examining Policies that Encourage Illegal Immigration. Now, this was done back in 2022. So some of the studies is getting significantly worse, by the way. Some of the things that they mention in here, about the border or in this crisis, is alarming, because you know who's paying for it? We're paying for it. We're paying for all of these programs that they got in place for other countries. We're supposed to be working in tangent with these other countries so these other immigrants will not seek asylum. They're supposed to be handling their business, like combating crime, combating trafficking, all that stuff. But they're not. They're just taking money, and the US is giving money without holding them accountable. And it's mentioned in this document. If you guys want, I have to find it again, the link that, but I downloaded it to my computer. Actually, what I could do is set up a drive, a doc, on Google Docs, so you guys could read it. But I just want to point out a couple of things that I found in here that's really super crazy. Now, this is under the Obama administration. We had that DACA thing that he put in place. And I'll go back to that later because that's crazy too. So under Barack Obama, he expanded the population. President Obama expanded the population eligible for the DACA program to people of any age who entered the United States the age of 16 and lived in the state continuously since 2010. Okay, an extended period of DACA, a work organization for authorization for 2 years to 3 years. So effectively, they're making these people citizens, basically. If you lived in the United States for a certain amount of time. They didn't put whether or not are these criminals, did they get a criminal charge or whatever. They're just saying if you've been here since 2010 and before you were 16, you could seek you're automatically become a resident. Okay. And limiting deportation. Now, this is crazy. Now, under the Obama administration, I'll highlight where I'm reading. One of the major assumptions under the Obama President Obama's 2014 strategies was the Central American government will continue to demonstrate leadership and contribute significant resource to address challenges if they are supported by international partners. In other words, U.S. assistance to Central America countries rests on those countries' willingness to invest and act to address illegal migration. This is Central America. And guess what we gave them? $3.6 billion since we implemented this strategy. But we can't determine the success. It says, while there have been pragmatic success in individual countries, illegal migration to the United States has continued to rise to alarming levels, raising concerns of the programs that have not aligned with the objectives the strategy sought out to address. So, and like I highlighted some of the stuff because they're saying since the strategy was implemented, they noticed they encountered 115,000 illegal immigrants or migrants per month at the U.S. border from March to June of this year, and over 140 in May alone. That's in 2019. Okay, so these numbers are drastically changed since then. This is alarmingly higher, way higher. And it says United States provide billions of dollars to foreign assistance without concrete expectations or mechanisms to measure tangible results. Countries and regions are not incentivized to take meaningful actions to address their own internal challenges. So what they're basically saying in this document, we're just throwing money at them and we don't have KPIs, key performance indicators, to determine if these strategies are successful. So, and we could say if they're not giving us a monthly report, or we're not requiring them to give us a monthly report on their strategies or what programs they implemented in the other countries, we're not going to see that. We know we're not going to see that, because if you give a kid money, they're going to spend it on whatever. If you tell them, oh, here's the money, set up the program, and don't ask them, oh, I'm going to ask for a report on, in a month, and I want to see this and this and this. We're just a free ATM machine. And who's paying for it? You and I. Okay. So one thing I already mentioned, one problem with the Border Patrol or people accessing our borders and getting into our country is, number one, the voting power. So now you got all these undocumented people, and this is what's going to happen when election come time. You know what the Democrats are going to be talking about? Oh, it's racist. You should be able to vote without identification. That's the strategy that they're trying to play. You should be able to vote for without identification. The next thing, oh, why do we got so much crime? Why do we have so much crime and drugs on our street? Oh, because you guys didn't agree on some type of border, whatever. They're blaming the House, the Republicans at this point, because they're saying they can't agree upon, solving these problems. And it's really not a Republican problem. It's really a U.S. problem. So they're trying to pass the buck to the Republicans, but that's just a scapegoat, because they really want people over here so they could get these undocumented people to be voting. They might pay for them, give them an incentive, but who's going to pay for it? You and I. The taxpayer pays for it all. And then I don't know if you guys realize, with sex trafficking and stuff like that, that's a problem. They're saying that you have kids coming over and they're traumatized because they were assaulted while they were at the customs facility or prior to them getting to the custom or the border. And then they just push them out to society. And now you got these kids probably being sex workers or getting taken and sending them to places where they don't know. They don't know where they place. They don't have probably parents or anything like that. They're just coming over here, and people are taking advantage of that. So it's a humanity crisis as well. So, like I said, I could put this document after this live stream. I'll make a Google Doc for this. So, and then you have Lori Lightfoot. Lori Lightfoot, I don't know if you guys seen her. She was mad. She's mad at Texas governor. She's mad at Texas governor because the Texas governor, he's been sending all his and not even all of them. In his letter, he stated that Lori Lightfoot tried to plead with Biden and whatever, and plead with the Texas governor. And she's trying to say, oh, you're just sending all these people over here. And he was like, in his letter, he was like, if you can't handle 8,000 people, you claim that your city was a safe haven for immigrants. That's what you claimed a few years ago. And now all of a sudden you want me to stop. He said no, because on a daily basis, they get 13,000 people entering into Texas. And he said, you can't handle 8,000 people. It's ridiculous. So what I'm going to show you is Lori Lightfoot on, I don't know what news network this was, but she was complaining about it. She was crying because she thinks she's the only one with this problem, and she's not. Um, let me just pull this up for you. I don't know why it's not showing the video. Oh, there you go. Okay. So this is Fox that I got her on. And actually she was on CNN. And let me make sure you guys can see that. Okay.
We are completely tapped out. We have no more space, no more resources, and frankly, we're already in a surge.
Well, that's the outgoing Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot. She is urging Texas Governor Greg Abbott to stop sending busloads of migrants to her city, a sanctuary city. Emergency officials warn the situation has drastically changed. Families are now sleeping inside police stations as the city's migrant shelters hit capacity, and it's likely to get worse with these thousands more already waiting at the border when Title 42 ends next week. Let's bring in Leo Terrell, civil rights attorney and a Fox News contributor. As if this is a major shock to anyone that this is happening, that these migrants are inundating these cities that cannot handle it, do not have the resources for them, and it is making matters worse for residents who are already struggling in these big American cities. Leo.
You know, Sandra, it's so embarrassing what lame duck Lori Lightfoot is stating that it's a problem that Greg Abbott is creating. All she got to do is look east and go to pick up the phone and call Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and the most incompetent Department of Homeland Security chief ever, Alexandra Mayorkas, and tell them to enforce the border. Mayorkas is unlikable by his own border people. The problem is very simple. They encourage immigration, Sandra. They have allowed this. And who's hurting? Americans. Americans are hurting because the Democratic policy is no border. They have gaslight this country for 2 years, and now they want to point the finger at Congress. No, point the finger at Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, and Mayorkas. And as a lawyer, I'm embarrassed every time I hear Mayorkas give a word salad when he talks about the border being secure. America, the border is not secure.
My only question is who does she want to deal with this? Why is it Greg Abbott's? Why is that the root of the problem for him to not send the busloads of migrants? Why is she not talking about addressing the problems at the border? We're not hearing from the president or the vice president who has been deployed to handle this crisis. This is more from Lightfoot in that interview about urging help from the federal government on this crisis. Listen.
They've been focused on it for months and months and months. But the reality is in the cities is that we are already seeing the surge, and we need immediate federal help. We need FEMA to step up and do the right thing.
All right. She wants the federal government to come in. She wants FEMA to step up and do the right thing. This appears to be an all hands on deck. Where was she a year ago?
Nowhere to be found, because it wasn't an issue for her. Sandra, I can't say it clear enough. She won't blame the people who are responsible. The Democrats. The Democrats are responsible for the border crisis every day, and they get help, Sandra, because the mainstream media will not cover this. The ultimate problem is very simple. The Democrats are trying to shift the blame because we have an open border. If they would have kept the Trump policies in place, we would not have this problem, Sandra. Right. Democrats have welcomed sanctuary cities throughout the country.
Well, if you're in these big American cities where this is happening, like Chicago, you're not going to see change anytime soon. This is the mayor-elect coming in after Lightfoot. Johnson, he's embracing the sanctuary city title where these migrants are welcome. Listen.
Executives in other states have seized on the influx of asylum seekers, often fleeing violence and economic devastation at our border, and sought to make them a political football. Chicago was proudly a welcoming city. We can prove that our city can both welcome people seeking asylum while also investing in communities.
All right, so we will see where they get with all of that, Leo. But I want to bring this in as well, because in that same interview, Lori Lightfoot, who's saying some pretty interesting things she wasn't saying a year ago or 2 years ago on crime, obviously now the immigration crisis. Now she is rejecting, of all people, Randy Weingarten's spin on school closings, saying it's not the reality. Listen to Lightfoot.
That may have been what Randy Weingarten was saying at the national level, and I believe that to be true. I had conversations with her at the time that lead me to believe that that's what she wanted to do. That's not the reality that was happening on the ground in cities like Chicago, like Los Angeles, and other places. Okay. We needed to get our kids back in school, and I'm unapologetic about the fight to make sure that we put our kids and our parents first.
She's slamming Weingarten when she claimed this, Leo, on schools. Real quick.
We spent every day from February on trying to get schools open. We knew that remote education was not a substitute for open.
Well, I'm not going to, play that whole thing. That's on a different topic. But as you can see, Lori Lightfoot is pleading with the federal government to send FEMA assistance, and she wants Greg Abbott, I think his name is Greg Abbott, the Texas governor, to stop sending people to the border or to Chicago. And it's not going to happen. He's saying, hey, it's not my problem. It's an American problem. You said you was a city of asylum and you welcome all these people. So I'm going to send some of my problems to you. I shouldn't carry the brunt of this whole burden. You need to talk to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, the people that you need to talk to, the people that can make the changes. That's who you need to talk to, not me. So in his letter, I'm going to show you some of these chats too. Josh is saying, what's good, everybody? Evening, Miss Burns. Hey, Josh, thank you for tuning in. Blackfoot, I'm pretty sure that the governor of Texas could have called for the state of emergency with the border crisis. Kerry Lake was going to do as the governor of Arizona. I think he is. I think he is calling the crisis. And I'll tell you what the response for what Biden is planning to do. That I found a response, and it's kind of stupid. It actually is in my title. He's planning to send some troops over, but they're going to be paper pushers, which is so stupid. Without borders, you have chaos. That's why every country has borders except the United States southern border. You're absolutely right. So on this screen, this is what Greg Abbott said to Lori Lightfoot. And he basically told her, hey, this is the ongoing border and humanitarian crisis that Texas and the entire United States are grappling with is a direct result of President Biden's open border policy. He get right to it. He said, "Dear Mayor Lightfoot," the first sentence, this is a United States problem, and it's direct results of Biden's open border policy. Under the previous administration, illegal immigration was at its lowest levels in decades. Now that Biden is preparing to open the floodgates by ending the Title 42 expulsions next week, and Texas is on the front lines of this catastrophe. As the mayor of a self-declared sanctuary city, it is ironic to hear you complain about Chicago's struggle to deal with a few thousand illegal immigrants, which is the fraction of the record high numbers we deal with in Texas on a regular basis. Texas border towns like Eagle Pass, Brownsville, and Laredo, and even bigger cities like El Paso cannot handle the flood of illegal immigrants rushing across our southern border. With Title 42 expulsions set to end next week, the federal government has estimated that we could have up to 13,000 illegal immigrants cross the U.S. border every single day. What's the math on that? Can somebody tell me? What's the math on that? 13,000, just say on a monthly basis. 393 people that's entering the borders illegally. Illegal immigrants. And that's the U.S.-Mexico border. That's not talking about Florida. You know, they doing something in Florida. They be dying on boats from Honduras trying to get to the U.S. So this is just Texas. If Chicago can't deal with 8,000 in less than a year, how are these small towns, Texas border communities supposed to manage 13,000 in one day? These surges is illegal crossings will accompanied by criminal activity, gang violence, and deadly drugs like fentanyl. These problems do not stay in border communities in Texas. They make their way throughout the country, including streets of Chicago. Innocent Americans are put at risk every day by these open border policies. If you truly want to work together to find a real solution to this border crisis gripping our nation, you must call on the Biden administration to do its job by securing our border, repelling the illegal immigrants flooding in our countries, classifying the Mexican drug cartels as a foreign terrorist organization, intercepting the deadly fentanyl that is endangering our country. You are right. This situation is completely untenable, but this is not a Texas problem. This is a problem for the entire United States. So to provide much needed relief to our overrun communities, Texas began busing migrants to sanctuary cities such as yourself, Washington, D.C., New York, Philadelphia, with more to come. Until Biden secures the border to stop the inflow of migration, Texas will continue the necessary program. They said, Texas, this is not my problem. We're just one state. There's 50 other states or 49 other states, because you can't bus them to Hawaii. So he's going to continue to do that. And I don't blame him. I do not blame him. He shouldn't have the brunt of the problem. This next one, speaking of, let me show you back that document. Let me go back to the document. And we're gonna talk about the illegal activities, the numbers that they found. Now, these numbers are people that they actually caught. They actually caught trying to cross the border, ran their information, and they came up in the system, wanted part of a gang, wanted for illegal activities, murders, rape, all kinds of stuff. And this was back in 2020. So we could just say this number is reflective on a number today, probably on a larger scale, because now we got more. Okay. So it says in 2020, Immigration and Custom Enforcement and Removal Operation conducted 103,603 administrative arrests, of which 90% had criminal convictions. 90% of these people had criminal convictions or pending criminal charges at the time of arrest. Those arrests had criminal histories included more than 1,800 homicide-related offenses, 1,600 kidnappings, 3,800 robberies, 37,000 assaults, 10,000 sex crimes. In the total, there were more than 374,000 criminal convictions and pending charges, an average of 4 per arrest. Multiple. When we say criminals, hardened criminals, that's coming here. Now, these are the people that they caught. Do you guys, did you hear about the story in Texas? Tap in the chat if you heard about the story in Texas. Type a 1 in the chat if you heard about the story in Texas. Let me see if I can find it right quick. Now, when I say Texas, this was a guy, they shot a family. I think a family of 5. Killed them all, kids and everything. And the yeah, this is it. And he's still out at large because he wasn't even supposed to be here. He wasn't even supposed to be here. And he killed those people. Let me see if I could see it. No, it's a commercial. But yeah, this family was killed. Let me see. And he wasn't even supposed to be here. And this sheriff, he got choked up because it was so sad because he killed babies.
The state of Texas has offered $50,000 for the capture of this suspect. Multi-county Crime Stoppers, which includes Montgomery, San Jacinto, and Liberty counties, have thrown in $5,000 for a total of $55,000 so far for this suspect's arrest.
It's also offering an additional $25,000 for the apprehension of this subject. So it brings the total amount of the reward to $80,000. If anybody, whether you are here in this county or this state of Texas or around the country, have any tips, we're asking you to please call 1-800-FBI-TIPS. 24/7, this phone line will be available. If anyone has any information that could lead to the arrest of this subject.
That's not what I was trying to find, but it was about the family. Well, apparently they're trying to put an award out there to catch this guy. And it's basically Texas shooting suspects who killed 5 neighbors, including the child, could be anywhere now as police widen search. He probably fled the country, or like I said, he could be anywhere because he's a criminal. While that's booting up, let me just enlarge this. The suspect armed with endangers Texas man wanted for fatally shooting 5 neighbors. Let me play this for you. I don't know why. Okay. For some reason, it's not working. Okay, it says several hundred law enforcement led by the FBI was desperately employing drones, dogs around the town Authorities were going door to door and clues about suspected gunman Francisco Oropeza, a 30-year-old married dad from Mexico who's still on the run after allegedly going berserk and unleashing the horror. He's in the U.S. illegally, was previously deported multiple times because he lacked legal residency status. His last encounter with the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement was 2016, and the outlet said, "We don't know where he is." James Smith, FBI agent, is in charge, said this on Sunday. But this is his house, I'm assuming, or no, these are the people houses that he killed. He went in there and shot him up. They're just removing the victims out of the house. This 1-month-old baby, 25-year-old, the wife, 8-year-old, and they were killed. So this is an illegal immigrant that, that's his picture, you guys. Came into the U.S. and he's been deported multiple times, but he still keep on coming over here. He finds his way back into the country. And they said the last encounter was 2016. So Biden's plan to strengthen the border is a weak plan. I'm going to pull it up. And they're not there to help enforce any laws. They're just there to paper push, do administrative tasks. I wish this thing would get off there. Why is it still on there?
Guess what? Today's my last day. Gonna do my own thing.
Yeah, so he's planning to send administrative time. It says Biden administration is making plans to send additional 1,500 active duty troops to the U.S. Mexican border and anticipating influx of migrants when Title 42 Public Health Authority expires next week. Sources familiar with planning told CNN. So that's what he's planning to do.
Is a policy analyst at the Migration Policy Institute. Appreciate you being with us.
Thank you for having me.
So how bad is the situation at the US-Mexico border right now, and how much worse will it likely get once Title 42 comes to an end?
The situation at the US-Mexico border right now is seeing about between 5,500 to 8,000 migrants arrive daily across the border, which has placed significant restrictions at for the different agencies of the U.S. government, but also for the communities on the U.S. and the Mexican side. This led to not only a need for more assistance for humanitarian reasons, but also for better and considering plans for policies coming forward, specifically as we approach the May 11th deadline, when Title 42, a pandemic era rule, could be ended and more migrants may be expected to arrive.
Now, El Paso in Texas has declared a state of emergency as a result of the imminent end to Title 42. What's your reaction to that response by the mayor?
The response of El Paso City really exemplifies what we think is likely to continue in other places across the U.S.-Mexico border. It's really a response to try to prepare for potential increases on migrants arriving to the border, and really an ask for assistance from the federal government, but also NGOs to try to prepare additional shelter and services that may be needed once the Title 42 rule ends here in about a week.
So what exactly should Texan cities be doing right now to prepare for the imminent end of Title 42?
Well, Texas cities should begin to reconsider some of the capacity they have, to outline coordination plans with different states as well, not just in Texas, but for example, considering coordination for transportation to other cities. We know that this happened before, but for example, folks from El Paso going to Chicago, New York, or other places. That's one place that can happen. But at the same time, El Paso should, on other cities along the border, not just in Texas, should also work with Mexican cities to try to understand what could be the potential expected increase, and of course, the different layers of government to try to provide additional resources, not just initially, but continuously, because we know that even if the numbers beginning to change next week, the real progress and assistance is going to happen for at least a month or so.
And what do you think needs to be done to update immigration laws in this country so they can better respond to the influx of people at the southern border?
Well, clearly there's significant policy change that is needed at the U.S.-Mexico border. One that actually starts with increasing and providing better assistance for U.S. asylum claims. One that is more fair and transparent about who can come to the country and seek asylum in which ways. And I think the Biden administration is beginning to work on that. At the same time, we do need to consider how to improve services and collaboration between NGOs and local and state officials. We have heard a lot about funding, for example, the federal government is providing to cities, but more needs to happen so that funding can be more consistent and sustainable, not just for the cities, but for the NGOs as well that are really doing some of the legwork on the ground. And then finally, regardless.
So he's from Mexico and he's saying, oh, we need some assistance, blah, 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 coordinated. They want some more money, basically. They're not trying to do nothing really tangible. I do want to show you this because right now, of course, that's CNN. They're going to tell you, oh, they need to work it out and blah, blah, blah. We need more financial assistance. We need more whatever. It's a bunch of crap. It's a bunch of crap. You need more money. Why? So you can't do nothing. And you use US for an ATM machine. Now, one thing I do agree with, they need to put a policy in place. Who's able, put a list together. Who are we going to allow to enter into this space, into the US? You know, if we're saying, oh, we're going to be humanitarians, who are you going to allow to enter in? You got to create a list. You can't just say, oh, we're going to let everybody in, because that's what they're doing now. They're just letting everybody in. They're not even, and then they're letting everybody in, and we're doing a quality control. We'll check every one of them. Are we fingerprinting people? Are we fingerprinting minors? What are we doing? And how did they catch those, 100 and something thousand people that had criminal records? Was it a spot check? Because right now, they're planning to send over 1,500 people, and all they're planning to do is do administrative tasks. That's what Biden's plan is. It's nothing to do with the law enforcement and to help combat people or process people, or even say, hey, no, we got to take you back to the, the other side of the North America. No, they're not here to do that. They're just here they're coming down there to process paperwork and maybe take pictures. I'm not for sure, but it's administrative task, nothing to do with enforcing legal or doing any type of legal things to help ensure the border. So this video I do want to show you, and this from Fox. And it's kind of sad where they're not planning to do nothing.
Good to see you. So let's talk about processing centers south of the U.S. border. This is not really about stemming the flow of migrants to the southern border. This is really about managing the perception, so the media can't see the stockpile of people trying to come into our country, isn't it?
Well, that's exactly right. And it's a fundamental flaw of the Biden administration's approach, and it has been over the last 26 to 27 months, right? They don't want to actually solve the crisis and solve the problem. And the problem is the illegal behavior and the illegal crossings along that southern border. Instead, they want to put measures in place that are simply going to facilitate and process those migrants in a quicker fashion so that they don't have images of 10,000 migrants under a bridge in Del Rio. That's a problem for this administration. And so they're going to do everything but solve the problem and simply facilitate the flow of illegal migrants into the country quicker and quicker. And it's what their strategy has been designed to do over these past 2 years.
Chad, you already have the mayor of New York City, not exactly a border community, saying that Biden's migrant crisis has destroyed New York City. And there are already, with the Title 42 coming to an end, there are smugglers advertising their services across Mexico.
Well, absolutely. I mean, when's the last time that you saw a New York mayor go to El Paso, to actually go to the southern border? And he's only there for one reason, which he's trying to understand the crisis and why the Biden administration won't actually try to solve it. And that's why he was there in El Paso. But look, you've got the end of Title 42 coming up on May 11th. The administration doesn't really have a plan in place for the influx. We're going to see another surge of migrants across that border that are already straining communities along that southwest border and basically communities all over the country. And again, there's no strategy, there's no leverage, there's no big agreement with the government of Mexico to figure out what's going on and to solve the problem. They've been at this for 2 years. They have a failed strategy. And I think the American people are tired of it. And they're tired of them doubling down on a failed strategy. They're tired of being told lies. And they don't want the secretary to tell them the border is secure any longer. They just want the problem fixed.
Chad, I mean, I think it's fair to say it's a failed strategy because you're a good person who would actually say, I'm an American, I want to secure the border. But I actually think this is the strategy. They're intentionally opening the border, incentivizing people to come up and through it into the country. And I think the million-dollar question is, why? What is the purpose behind opening our border and letting all kinds of people come in, not well vetted, to take jobs from Americans and especially low-income jobs from Americans? That doesn't make any sense to me. Do you have an answer on why they would do this?
Well, look, it's a good question. And at the end of the day, only really the Biden administration is going to be able to answer that. But look, what I know is that they are beholden to obviously the left wing of their party. And these immigration activists and these true believers, they don't believe in borders. And when we say that, it's not just a throwaway line to say, oh, they're open borders. They actually believe that anyone who crosses that border legally or illegally has a right to stay in the United States. And that's simply not U.S. law. They know that. They want to change the law, which is why they have a number of bills that have been introduced to change the law. And they don't believe it. But what they can't achieve by a change in law, they're going to achieve by policy. And that's what they've been doing for the past 2 years. And so, look, I think there's a number of reasons of why they're doing this. But at the end of the day, they don't believe in immigration enforcement. They've directed ICE, they've directed DHS officers and law enforcement not to actually enforce the law. They don't like enforcing immigration law. And they want to change the law, but they actually don't want to do the hard work and have Congress do it. Instead, they'd rather do it by policy memo.
There will never be any immigration reform passed out of Congress when the border is wide open. Chad, thank you so much. Chad Wolf.
Thank you.
They're not. He's
Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Questioning why they want to do it. Why they want to. Why they want to have the borders open, I already answered that. The more people they could get over here, and push, hey, we don't need an ID to vote. They'll try to change that to get these people so they could start voting. That's basically what that is. They just want more people, to vote, and you can't tell me that's not what the main reason is. Yeah, I don't see any other reason. Okay, yeah, they're taking jobs from low paying jobs, but are they really? Are they really taking low paying jobs? And if they are, that's another problem. But I think some it's a hidden agenda, and to me, it's the voting. The more people you could get on the Democratic side to vote, and they probably could say, "Oh, remember Biden," even though they can't speak English. Remember Democrat. Just vote blue. just vote blue, and so they could have undocumented people voting. That's what I believe. Y'all might think different, but that's what my main conclusion came to. They just want more people voting for the Democratic policies. So, you guys, I'm not going to beat this dead horse. It is getting late, almost 10 o'clock. You guys put in the comment section. Let me see what people are putting. Mike Davis, the media will go down last, of course. ABC News is claiming that the guy is in custody 25 minutes ago. So you're talking about the guy that was running around, or the guy that was wanted for killing those people, which is sad. Hangins AZ, hey now, Mrs. Burns. Hey, how you doing? Blackfoot Man, I'm glad I found your live stream. Thank you for sharing, Shawan. Thank you for coming. The open southern border is very much done on purpose. That's why Biden threw out the Trump laws that were pertain to our southern border. That's right. You're absolutely right. I did. You know what? I probably got rid of it. Was this it? Oh, yeah. This was it.
Diagnose.
Oh, no. This is it.
With AFib.
I had another network on here, but maybe I'll find it later. It was a guy he was down in Texas helping. He was like a humanitarian or something, but I think he was like from Peru or somewhere like that. And he was saying, or he was complaining that how none of the administration, they don't realize the problem because they never been down there. They don't realize the problem because they've never been down to Texas. And he was like, if they were to come down there, like really see the problem, see the lack of custom patrols and the lack of manpower that they have, because he said it's alarming, is so sad that you got all these people living outside and just waiting for this Title 42 to end. And he's the outside looking in. He wasn't even from here. He's just helping out, I guess. But this is what we're facing. This is what we're facing. And if we don't if we don't hold the administration accountable and get them out, we're going to be paying for it. We're going to be paying for it, and they're going to be taking over these major cities, like these criminals and stuff, and bringing more drugs in. The more they confiscated, just imagine if they're confiscating. I think I heard a senator saying that they confiscated almost $300 million worth of fentanyl last year. And so what didn't they catch? Apparently a whole bunch. So it's just going to continue. It's going to spread like a cancer if we don't hold these people accountable. It's Biden administration accountable, and force them to pass a law to stop them, or some laws to stop people from coming over here illegally. All right, you guys. So that was it for our business talk. Thank you once again. You guys, I really appreciate you guys, because my channel has been growing tremendously. We did hit our 25,000 subscriber mark. We hit our 25,000 subscriber mark last Monday. Or no, was it this? It was this Monday. We hit our 25,000 subscriber, and we're already at 26,000. So I'm just going to put it out there. I'm going to put it out there. I would like to, you see we're at 26,000. I would like to see 30,000 by the end of May. So put that out there, 30,000 subscribers by the end of May. Please like, comment, and share this channel. Share this video if you find the information informative and entertaining, because that's what I try to do. Like, share, and comment. All right, so I am sending all my good to you. You guys have a good evening. I will talk to you tomorrow.